All right, everybody. Dan Fitzpatrick here, stockmarketmentor.com. And I want to talk about AppLovin today, or AppLovin. I guess you're loving this app. So the stock, along with Robinhood, gets added to the S&P 500. That's the announcement today. So Robinhood popped up more than 15%. AppLovin almost 12%. So both of these were real monster moves. And I want to talk about this one here. We're long both of them, though. There were some people, maybe a lot of you guys, that got stopped out on this shakeout a few like last week. But and that's the nature of tight stops. What I always suggest, though, is that you take partial stops. You keep partial stops on things rather than just being all in or all out. Because if it turns out that you're all out and then you see this thing happen, you don't really get to participate much. But that's for a different time. And this is why. If we just like Robinhood's going a lot higher, I'll just tell you this, like it's going to the damn moon. Hell, I'll cover both of them. Here's a weekly chart. This has been grinding around for a while. I created these when I was doing a tutorial, so I'll just kind of get rid of them. On this weekly chart, this thing's been grinding around for a while here, but it's looking to me like this move, assuming it runs higher, like literally just a couple bucks higher, this is going to hit a new all-time high. And the thing about stocks that hit all-time highs is they don't just hit one of them. They keep going. And so this has been in this oscillating thing for a while, but between 100 and we'll extend it a bit, between 100 and 120 is where this thing has held. So if this stock breaks out above 120, I'll say that it is that this has been a $10 range. Again, I'm stretching it a little bit, not much, but it's been a $10 range here. Therefore, when it breaks above 120, it's an easy target to go 130, which isn't bad on a percentage basis. That's an easy target to get to. We look at this on the daily chart, and you can see what I'm talking about here. A breakout here, boom, is going to give us a nice move to the upside. Now, if we look at the other one here, this is what's pretty interesting to me. I look at this, it's got a little, actually kind of a clearer pattern than Robinhood does. This has gone down like 318 bucks. I always like to contract, so we'll say 300 bucks is what this is pulled back to. And so if we just look at this as a simple measured move where the stock busts out above 500, okay, then what do we got? 300 bucks to the downside. What's the upside target? This is a weekly chart, so don't expect it next week. The upside target is another 300 bucks. I'm looking at, we'll say 800 bucks. So this is my target for AppLovin. $300 target up to 800 bucks. Okay, so let's see if I'm right. Okay, members, we had a long training session today because I literally did make it training for about the first, almost the first hour. I covered the seven. I'm coming out with a new book here in a while, and I wanted to preview it for you. So I came up with this 7 mistakes fix list, and I went through it, and people that were on there loved it. And so seriously, even if you couldn't care less about any stocks, watch the tutorial because I think it's a good one. I know that because I spent all day yesterday creating that. So anyway, definitely check this out. If you are not a member, you really need to be. $7 gets you in the door for 14 days. Kind of hard to imagine you're not going to make that much money back. Okay, so give it a try. I promise you it'll be worth it. And I pretty much guarantee you that you're going to stick around too. Why? Because you're going to make money. How could you not? We all are. All right, see you guys next time.